Hello, my dear fellow Californians. Welcome to the show, Jack Chow on East West with G&E TV. As we vow in every show that we want to make it a constant call that California is no longer like it was 100 years ago, 50 years ago, or even 30, 20 years ago. We are out of water. Our water is running out. Lots of folks think that, oh, yeah, we have a temporary problem. Let's tighten ourselves up, and things will go over. Time will take care of. No, matter of fact, no. Checking with all our water officials, we learned out that it's not going to be over easy. Well, as a matter of fact, it's not going to be over at all because California enters its dry epoch, dry season, call it that way. It's gonna last for a long time, probably permanently. So today, once again, this is one of the constant call that we are over and over again doing one more show talking about our water. So as you can see, this is the update of water, and this is our call to question this year for our winter, wet winter, with a question mark. So joining me are my two wonderful water friends. They are very wet, very watery. And I have Mr. Ken Manning. Ken Manning, you know Ken. Ken's been here many times. Ken Manning, let me read officially his title. He's the Executive Director of Water Quality Control of San Gabriel Valley.
Yep.
All right, good. And with him, we can check about our water quality, about the assurance of water supplies, which we will check later. And with my friend Tony, he goes by Anthony. Anthony's MPLO. He is also a face that you've seen many times already, talking about water. And his title precisely be Executive Secretary of San Gabriel Valley Water Association. I know the name which sounds louder is the Water Master.
Yes.
Right? Water Master. You are the high executive officer of Water Master.
Yes.
All right, Tony, thank you very much. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, right? Okay, now we need to, number one, make our point clear once again to our audiences that we are still in the drought and we will not be out. Am I right by dragging that as a very sad picture?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call it a sad picture. It's reality, and where we are today is that we have drawn down our savings account, and our groundwater basins are low. And Tony can talk to that because that's the area he covers. But if you look at our statewide reserves, our reservoirs and our systems up and down the state of California, they are less than 20% up and down the state in terms of being full. So we have drawn down our checking account, or we've drawn down our savings account. We now need to put money back in, or in this case, water. So what we need to do is this year, if we have an El Nino, and it looks like we're going to, and it looks like it's going to be a big one based on all the science, we need to work very hard to make sure we are able to capitalize on that few months of rain and get that water into our storage accounts in surface reservoirs, and then funnel that into our groundwater basins so that we can fill those up as well. But even with a strong wet year, we're not going to be able to fill them back all the way to where they used to be. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it needs time. Last time Anthony says about it, it takes time to fill in. Suppose we did have the enough supply of water, we got to let it come in slow, right?
Yeah.
If somebody,
well, it's all, people don't understand really. It's a combination of different types of storage. When you see what's going on throughout the state, their surface storage is low. Those are the dams and the lakes. But we here, and even the groundwater basins in other parts of the states, use the surface supply to hold back that water and then release it and recharge it, because the ground can't take it back in as fast. So that's the big part of how our system works here, and really throughout the state. So when you see the debate about should we build more dams or should we just store it all in the ground, you need both really to make it work and to make everything so that you can, as Ken said, maximize the capture.
Yeah. So when he refers to saving account, though, he really talks about your underground water.
Yes.
Right. So with the underground water going that low, about 20%.
Well, right now, and Tony's got the exact number probably at the tip of his tongue.
Yeah.
But yeah, our groundwater basin is really low right now.
Very low.
Yeah, it's at 174 feet above mean sea level. Normally, this time of year, we would be gearing up to refill, and the historic low prior to this was about 50 feet higher than that.
Oh, I see.
So we're as Ken says, we're kind of we're working to catch up. So 1 year for us, it isn't, by all of our experience, it isn't physically possible that we can get back to. It's kind of like being off work for 3 or 4 years, or going on strike without salary. At some point, you don't make up. And you may not make up whatever you were fighting for while you were off, and it's kind of the same thing.
Because what you have lost is some accumulation over time, right?
Yes.
I think it's interesting for the viewers to understand that in Southern California, through most of Southern California, when we talk about the groundwater basin here in the San Gabriel Basin, it's like a bathtub full of sand and gravel, and it has water in there, and we're able to use that. But we have those groundwater basins throughout Southern California. So in Orange County has a groundwater basin, the San Fernando Valley, the Chino Basin, San Bernardino. If you go up and down the state, most areas that are inhabited have some groundwater available to them that is geologically available. Now, San Diego is a little bit different. San Diego doesn't have
they're
groundwater.
drier, yeah. They're drier than us.
They use all surface water. But most of the rest of California has it, and they've been using those groundwater basins just like we in the San Gabriel Valley. And if you ask them what their situation is, it'll be very similar to what Tony's describing.
I know, but so even if that you do have a rich supply of your groundwater, though, same story like you and I, we can live on saving account. We have to have a constant supplies of money, right? You have to do your monthly income to keep going, and your saving account is just for the rainy days, right? That kind of thing.
So the big question for us going forward, because we can't tell what'll happen in the future, is if climate change is right, and the climate in California, although it's already dry, if the weather patterns are going to change, how do we adapt to manage going forward instead of just looking backwards?
Good point. Yeah. But the question is that will it change back?
Well, I don't think so. All evidence shows that that with global warming, and I don't want to get into politics of global warming, all you have to do is look at the science, and you realize that the planet is warming. And what that means is that we don't get as much snowpack in the mountains. And our best reservoir, absolutely, bar none, our best reservoir for water is the snowpack, because it gets up in the mountains and then it releases slowly over a few months, which allow the groundwater basins to take that water in. It's a great reservoir for us. But the problem is that as we get the global warming, those rains are going to come in warmer. That means less snow in the mountains and more flooding, which means that we're having more difficult time stopping that water before it gets to the ocean.
Stopping it from going into the ocean, right? Suppose whatever we have, right? Tony mentioned about also the weather pattern change, right? So do you think it's ever possible going back to normal?
Well, I think there are a lot of questions that need to be answered, and I think that unfortunately, folks on both sides of the issue like to point at a small event here or a small event there as a sign that they're right. My feeling is that there is something happening, but we have such a small, for us here, we have, in terms of really knowing the big picture, the amount of data that we have locally as far as what we can capture is minuscule. It's like a second within an hour. We need to say something is happening. We can't bury our heads in the sand, but there are so many different factors with how the forest is managed and how all of the other resources are managed that play into it that it's really hard to say. It's almost from us as a management standpoint, it's like, okay, look at all these things, but we still have to manage.
You know, I was talking with
It's a mixed up issue, right?
Yeah.
It's mixed up issue.
I was talking with some people the other day, and they were talking about this whole issue of global warming and whether or not it was really true or not. And I said, let's step back a little bit and let's not look at the last 100 years. Let's look at the last 40,000 years.
Look, in my
Because
case,
40,000 years ago, now I wasn't born then.
no, you were
That
not.
might look like it.
I was gonna
ask
ask
you.
you.
Yeah.
But 40,000 years ago, we started an ice age. And that ice age ended 10,000 years ago. So if the ice age ended 10,000 years ago and we're continuing, obviously the planet has been warming over the last 10,000 years.
It has to go back.
And I just don't think that things are changing, at least in our lifetime, things are going to change. Will they maybe someday? Sure. But at this point in time, we can't plan for that. We used to think that we were going to get wet years about every 7 out of 10 years. And that was kind of the way things were back in the 50s and 60s. And it was a wet period of time. But today,
It doesn't go that way.
No, we have to plan for 3 out of 10 years of wet years now, as opposed to the 6 or 7. And so what happens now is that that plays out, and it's pretty much what's showing, is that we have to figure we're going to get less rain.
While you taking back for 4,000 years, though, I look back into 4 last weeks, right? Just take a look into 4 last weeks, and the record setting, we had a 105 a point something. 105 means 40 something plus centigrade, or something like that. We never, California, Los Angeles, never had that. So never had that in history ever since temperature was recorded, right, of that kind. All right, my dear audiences, today once again, we put together another show to join into what we call the constant call about water. California water is really devastating, and it is a matter that everybody should pay attention to because it's so heavily related to your day-to-day life. With me, Mr. Ken Manning. He is the Water Quality Authority Director of Southern California. Basically, we're talking about Big Basin of San Gabriel Valley. And also, we have Water Master, the master of the Water Master. Yeah, Master was a master, right? Mr. Anthony Zampiello. He is also a high-ranking water official. With these two, we can be rest assured that water questions can be answered, right? So now, let's take a short moment out. Looking back into the past, what I say, quote unquote, 4 weeks, we did have something. But did that do anything to mitigate or to whatever, right? So stay with us. We'll check upon that.